Signs of destiny, how to recognize them and where they come from. Most people don't notice the signs that a higher power sends them. Who exactly is meant by this definition? Almost all people, without exception, enjoy the protection of a guardian angel, who is always ready to lead the way and suggest the right solution in a difficult situation. The main thing is to hear him. In addition, deceased relatives are also capable of sending signs. Most often they appear in dreams, warning of problems and suggesting the right ways of solving them. Close people do not go away forever after death. They are invisibly present in the life of their relatives, acting as a guardian angel or helping them. From the stories of the famous witch Victoria Ridos we know that a witch can become a mentor for her granddaughter even after death. Even atheists believe in signs of destiny. But their point of view differs from that of believers and occultists. If you believe this theory, in addition to consciousness, there is a higher self, which takes on the role of a guardian angel, an invisible spirit advisor or a spirit of a relative protecting the family. Perhaps, signs are sent by personal intuition, which can also be referred to manifestations of the higher self. In general, it is difficult to say where the clues in life's path come from. It all depends on who you used to believe in and whose existence you support by your faith. However, it is difficult to argue with the fact that such signs exist. There are too many testimonies from people who did not get into a plane that later crashed, and made other, correct choices for them, after receiving such hints from fate, angels, higher forces, or ancestral spirits. What signs does death warn a person before a visit? It can warn you in different ways. But not always. Sometimes it comes suddenly and unexpectedly. Some omens that can mean death. A bird that flies into the house, it is believed that birds are messengers of heaven and they can inhabit the souls of the dead. It can also mean a message. Most of the time it's not good. Seeing your twin. Hearing a sudden knock on a door or window. It is believed that this may be death knocking. Icons at home crying. A dog howls. Especially at night, it is believed that animals can sense death. Candles placed for the health of the person, go out or do not light. News from the afterlife comes. Dead relatives may come in dreams and call for them. You may begin to meet people who look like your deceased loved ones. There may even be instances of calls from the numbers of the deceased or text messages. Yes, there have been cases of that among people. That's how they are, trying to give you a sign. And maybe warn you of some danger. Before a person dies, they may start to see another world. Essences, spirits, and so on. This is especially true of seriously ill people. Before death, other worlds may be revealed to them. So dying, are introduced to the afterlife. Therefore, it is believed that if a seriously ill person suddenly begins to see the dead or any entities from another world, then there is a high degree of probability that he will soon pass away. Very conditional, frequent sensations of intense cold, weakness, tingling, goosebumps. Unreasonable feelings of fear, anxiety, confusion, hopelessness, strong underlying longing. Suddenly aggravated feelings of guilt and heaviness. Suddenly bursting into a religious feeling, especially if it was not there before. A strong thirst for closeness and contact with close people, especially if this was not present before, with a presentiment of death, afraid of being alone. Increased anxiety about the fate of loved ones and their future. And so on. But these are all just tentative signs. And in general, a lot of these signs. Our life depends first and foremost on God, not on omens. Fate can give signs. But these signs can be given by the evil one. To frighten, confuse, and confuse people. Could be a sign of magical attacks. For example, a person who has a spell on death, can start to see all sorts of strange and receive messages from death. Especially if at the same time he suddenly fell ill, began to feel bad and no one can help him. This is how negativity can manifest itself. A man just before his death changes his appearance, his facial features become sharper. And it is really so. There are known physiological harbingers of death. They are manifested in a decrease of blood pressure and heart rate, in increased sleepiness and rapidly advancing fatigue. A person's behavior also changes, because he has apathy towards everything, his appetite disappears. Of course, all these signs are characteristic of those cases where a person dies a natural death due to old age or illness. Accidents that lead to a person's death can also be signaled by such signs as intuitive anxiety or premonition. It is thanks to it that people at the last moment give up airplane or train tickets, with which later a tragic accident occurs. According to statistics, this is 15 to 20% of passengers. Sometimes there are also warning circumstances, when avoiding danger, if you are late for something, if suddenly there are some family circumstances and the like. And the signs of death are considered to be just such situations when a person has already been several times on the brink of death, in one way or another has come into contact with mortal danger. An example can be many famous personalities who have gone step by step to a date with death. A person is always aware of the coming of his death. He feels it. But he never, especially elderly people, tell his close people about it. Death always comes warning of itself, and to those people who are not afraid of it, who are ready and know that their time is over. And it all happens naturally, that is, without fear or panic. People see their death, in advance, feel it, as well as communicate it. Sometimes they can warn people that they are about to go away, or they leave a note. There are also unfortunate cases of death. I would call them cases, exceptions. Mistakes and carelessness of people who are in the wrong place at the wrong time with the place of death. Mostly directed at other people. Yes, there are signs when people sense something and, for example, don't take an ominous plane ticket. But these are not signs of death, but signs of certain protective forces, keepers. Mass death, wars, etc. A certain balance on the planet, are forced measures of higher forces. Sacrifices for life. Death of children is inherent in karma, and generational lineage, which can last for thousands of years. Death of children is always a mistake of adults. Death does not always warn, especially if a person is very busy and not sensitive or does not believe in all sorts of omens. However, sometimes people see that a person's face changes, becoming black or gray, covered with pallor, as if the person were already a living corpse. There may also be strong premonitions of trouble, anxiety, worry, depression. Birds may bang on the window or fly into the house, furniture may creak for no reason. There may be signs in dreams, dead relatives may come and call for you. And sometimes everything is good, but too good, so people begin to worry about what is happening. And then they can cause trouble for themselves or for a loved one. It happens that a person can see his double, which is similar to 2 drops. And since the world has an average of 7 such people, such a meeting might be unexpected. According to legend, Catherine the Great saw her double before her death. It happens that death appears in the form of wind, smell, taste. You see ominous signs or dream something bad all the time. Signs of destiny in love, how to know your future husband. The most common signs of fate in love are dreams. Sometimes the future spouse dreams long before they meet. There are many stories and legends about a woman seeing her wedding in a dream. By the way, in the old days used special rituals and incantations to see in a dream betrothed. They are popular even now. How to recognize signs of fate in love. The desire to divination for a relationship is one of them. Probably, the higher forces are pushing you to such a way to know the future of your union. You can only be happy for you if the forecast turned out to be positive. But, if not, the compulsive desire to go to the fortune teller or to take in the hands of cards can be a warning about the unhappy continuation of the novel. But, of course, the most important sign, it's your feelings about the person in question. When true love comes, people don't think about cues from higher powers. They know for sure that they will be together with the beloved. Signs of destiny, how to decipher personal omens. So, how to recognize signs of destiny? Almost everyone has personal omens. Sometimes they are based on folk wisdom, which has been passed down from generation to generation, from person to person for centuries. But personal observations can also be a good basis for creating personal omens, even though they have nothing in common with the omens of ancestors. The fact is that higher powers can send clues in the most unusual ways. Laplace, Pierre-Simon Laplace. Thus, there is a well-known story of the French mathematician Pierre-Simon Laplace, who lived in the 18th century. He often fell prey to street swindlers. As a mathematician, he was interested in statistics, and he made his bad luck a subject of study, writing down all, even the unrelated events of the days in which he had to give money to crooks. As a result, Pierre-Simon noticed that he became a victim of criminals only when his slippers were not in their usual place. The scientist's observations showed that his slippers disappeared at night every time before he lost money to fraud. Thus, some force was sending a signal to the man, albeit in a somewhat unusual way. Of course, the disappearance of slippers can hardly be considered a reliable omen. This is only an example of a sign that can be sent by higher forces. Each person can do a work similar to Pierre-Simon's study, compare the events with each other, and get a personal omen as a result. Knowing exactly how signs are sent to you, you can prevent bad events. If we talk about omens, which are known to almost everyone, not everyone believes in them. However, and work omens also not for all, without exception. More precisely, not all in the same way. For example, for one person, a bird flew into the window, to death, and for another, to marriage. It is commonly believed that a meeting with a black cat is bad luck, but many believe that it will bring only good luck. It all depends on personal observations, because all omens have several meanings, sometimes drastically different from each other. The study of folk omens will help to gain wisdom. But do not forget that personal observations are important here as well. The existing omens are only a basis for the pursuit of knowledge. How to understand signs of destiny from everyday events. Sometimes even a song heard on the radio at just the right moment can be the answer to a question. How to understand the signs of fate, which are a person almost every day. First of all, you need to learn to notice them. Your intuition will tell you whether it is a sign or just a coincidence. There is a simple modern fortune telling: ask a question and turn on the radio or TV. The first phrase you hear is the answer to your question. In ancient times, there was a Christmas divination for the future, eavesdropping. At night girls would go out, count a certain number of steps and listen to voices from houses and speeches of random passers-by. They used what they heard to interpret a prognosis for the coming year. It is possible to find out the answer to any question in such a way, if the supreme powers willed it. If you have thought about a certain problem, and a casual phrase of a passerby, even not addressed to you, seems a good solution, act as the higher forces command, and good luck will be with you. There are also more unusual secret signs of fate, non-random meetings. Even a stranger can play an important role in a person's life. It can be a fellow traveler in transportation, for example. If you meet a strange person, a guide, as they are called, who gave you a clue, remember what he said, will definitely come in handy. Such meetings are very rare. Not everyone is sent such gifts by the higher powers. How to see signs of destiny, second chance. How to see signs of destiny can tell you about your life's journey. How often do you make the same mistakes the second time around? As a rule, the first case serves as a kind of a warning. It does not bring serious problems, one gets by with little blood. The situation was sent down by higher forces so that their ward would receive some experience. If he does not listen to their advice, the repetition of the situation can lead to serious problems and even end in death. There is such a proverb: an offended angel does not come twice. Thus, most of those who died on the Titanic had already had water problems in the past. Some of the victims of the catastrophe almost drowned as children, some lost consciousness in the bathtub. Situations were different, and they should have taught people to avoid water. The higher powers know the cause of death of everyone. But people don't always heed the clues from above. To this day there is a house in North Carolina that was struck 3 times by lightning. It is now uninhabited and has a reputation as a haunted place. The first lightning struck, the owners thought it was an accident. The second one didn't make them change their place of residence either. The third was the cause of the tenant's death. The neighbors are convinced that they should have listened to the hints of higher forces, which warned of an unfavorable outcome. How to learn to read the signs of destiny, good luck and bad luck. On how to learn to read the signs of fate, told American researchers. More than once in the press there were printed materials about the fact that about 15% of passengers did not show up for the flight which was going to have a catastrophe. Usually the figure is much lower, up to 5%. Surveys have shown that some of the people who avoided the fatal flight were trivially late. Circumstances in their case were such that it was impossible to catch the plane. They included loss of documents, forgotten keys, car breakdown, and other mishaps that saved their lives. Failures are also clues, most often of a negative nature. There is an omen: if you had to return for a forgotten thing, you should look in the mirror, and then failure will not happen. But if you had to return 3 times, it is better to cancel the meeting or the trip. It is a warning from higher forces. If in your life there are troubles or delays, do not get upset. Perhaps it helped you to avoid more serious problems, and maybe even death in a disaster. Everything that happens is for the best. Things get lost, things fall out of your hands, clothes get dirty. Chances are a higher power is holding you back to avoid trouble. Legend has it that Captain Flint did not put to sea if he could not get his pipe out the first or second time, and that the Duke of Cumberland ordered his carriage to be turned back to the palace if he met 2 or more pipe makers. Luck of the road is also an omen, but a good one. If all the doors open in front of you and the traffic lights turn green, the right people are met and good things happen by chance, you are in the flow. You need to keep doing what you started. The universe will not forgive you if you fold your hands and stop acting when it is trying to help you. Remember this flow mindset, and try to keep it for a long time. It is the natural state of a successful and fortunate person. How to see signs of destiny in a dream. Some people who avoided a major accident said that they suddenly changed their mind and cancelled their trip of their own free will. Some of them had bad dreams, some of them just believed their intuition. Do not discount the meaning of bad dreams. More often than not, they simply warn of bad things and recommend to change the situation for the better. Dreams that you see before an important event are often prophetic. Gray, poorly remembered dreams do not portend anything special. Some expectations will be met, but failures cannot be avoided. Good and vivid dreams promise good luck. Nightmares and dreams that leave behind a feeling of oppressive anxiety, a warning, it should be listened to. You can order a prophetic dream. There are many incantations and rituals for this. But remember, sleep magic is a complicated matter. However, its possibilities are wide. One only has to remember the dreamer from the Battle of the Psychics, Maria Gann, who turned her talent into a means to help people. Dream magic can help not only to get tips from higher forces, but also other information that may be useful to you. Interpretation of dreams is a separate issue. The meanings can be opposite, depending on the dream books. The same approach as in the case of omens will be correct here. Observe, write down, and draw conclusions. Personal dream interpreters are of the highest accuracy. Signs of fate on the human body. Moles, birthmarks, injuries. Moles, birthmarks, and even pimples and warts are all signs of fate on the human body. A birthmark is always an unfavorable sign, especially if it is a large spot of bright or dark hue. As a rule, they indicate the need to work off karma. Detailed guidance can be obtained by knowing the meaning of the birthmark. An indication of improvements in destiny will be the brightening or disappearance of the mark. Each birthmark has its own meaning. Usually they speak of the aptitudes or talents a person has. Sometimes birthmarks indicate certain changes in life if they have appeared recently. Their meaning should be taken into account. For example, a birthmark on the little finger of the right hand indicates entrepreneurial talent. This can be taken into account when making decisions. Pimples and warts are temporary signs of fate on the body. There are quite a few omens about pimples. For example, a pimple on the nose indicates that someone has a crush on you. Do you suspect that this person cannot dare to make the first step? Make it yourself, there may be a message from the higher powers. The meaning of warts is similar to the meaning of moles, but it is temporary and related to your environment. Road numerology. Signs of fate in license plates. How to decipher signs of fate on the road. There are several numerological signs that will tell you about the future of your trip. For example, to notice a car with the same license plate number as yours is good luck. Of course, it will not be exactly the same as yours. If only the letters or just one number are different, this is very good, the higher forces bless your way. In addition, car numbers that are similar to your date of birth, as well as house and apartment numbers, bode well for your luck. If you have a lucky number, meeting it on the road is a very good omen. It is easy to guess that an unlucky number will only portend bad events. Signs of fate in road numerology are also car numbers with the same numbers, such as 777 or 222. If the number is your lucky number, expect good events. But if you see an accident, in which such a car was involved, it is unlikely to be a positive omen. In addition, do not forget to check with the values of numbers in numerology, you can learn a lot of interesting things. In general, the higher forces can be quite inventive in sending signs and omens. Their clues are worthy of every person on earth. However, it is not so easy to interpret them.